So the moment we all have been waiting for has went down, man. Late last night, the WNBA union released a statement pretty much confirming to the world that they did not come up with an agreement. So now we did a video yesterday pretty much telling you guys what was the next phase. The next phase.
What you're hearing isn't confidence. It's the sound of someone witnessing a slow-moving disaster. Because at midnight on January 10th, 2025, the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement officially expired without a new deal in place. After 2 full years of negotiations, the sides still failed to reach an agreement. Now the league is facing the very real possibility of a work stoppage that could wipe out the entire 2026 season, and judging by the latest statement from the Players Association, this situation is on the verge of turning extremely volatile.
Let me blow this up all the way so you guys can see it. Now, many of us thought that this was going to happen. And unfortunately, it did, you know. It don't look good for the 2026 season. I've been telling y'all over and over again, it didn't look good. It said at midnight, 2022, WNBA, WBPA collective bargaining agreement will expire, despite demonstrating.
It's important to understand what that statement is really signaling, because the wording is intentional. The Players Association didn't simply voice frustration. They rolled out an inflatable rat outside the NBA store in New York, a universally recognized symbol of organized labor protests used when unions believe management is acting in bad faith. The message is clear. They're accusing the league of stalling negotiations, intentionally running out the clock, and failing to properly value player contributions. This isn't theatrical posturing. It's a declaration of war.
They know that it's over. They know. They know that it's all over. It stated, today's display of an inflatable rat, a universal symbol of labor protests outside of the NBA store, calls attention to how the league and its teams have handled these negotiations. By delaying and clinging to the status quo, they are jeopardizing the livelihoods of players and trust and investments of fans, all in the name of preserving rigorous provisions that no longer belong in women's basketball.
What makes this moment truly unprecedented is that nearly the entire veteran class is sitting in free agency, with only 2 exceptions. The free agency window was scheduled to open on January 11th and run into early February, a period normally defined by roster overhauls, star extensions, and league-wide reshuffling ahead of the next season. Instead, everything is frozen. There's no contract framework, no finalized pay scale, and no clear structure to operate under. While teams technically retain the ability to issue qualifying offers and apply core designations under the expired agreement, players have little incentive to sign anything while a new CBA, one expected to bring significant salary increases, remains unresolved.
Misguided approach will not work in the face of the league and team's actions. The players remain unafraid and unwavering in their commitment to doing what is necessary to secure a transformational new CBA. This agreement must include a salary system tied to a meaningful share of revenue that will not exist without the player labor, mandates professional working conditions, and require protection that honor the players who built this league and set the generation up.
And it's not only free agency that's at a standstill. The WNBA draft is set for April, yet college players who have spent their entire lives preparing for this moment are now stuck in uncertainty. Do they enter the draft or hold back? What happens if there's no season waiting on the other side? While the league has instructed team front offices to operate as if business will continue under the expired agreement, that status quo is unacceptable to the players, who have made it clear they won't agree to the old terms. The result is a strange limbo in which the league technically exists, but is unable to fully operate.
It's been lasting 24 months. It's beyond me, guys. I've been covering women's basketball now. This will be my 2nd year going into, covering the WNBA sector of it. Never seen anything like this. I done covered NBA, NFL, and I've never seen anything like this. This is beyond me, man. Like, this is a crazy, crazy development here, man. It goes on to say the idea of A motion was floated by the league a few days ago, but put in writing late Friday night, sources said.
This is where the numbers start to matter. The league's most recent offer featured a top salary of $1.3 million, with the possibility of climbing to $2 million over the duration of the agreement. On the surface, that sounds substantial until it's compared to what the players are asking for. They're pushing for 70% of net revenue sharing, not gross revenue, and that distinction is the core of the dispute. The players believe the league is already profitable and masking the true financial picture, while the league insists it's still operating at a loss and relying on NBA support. Someone's calculations don't align.
We're told this week that the team should prepare to extend qualifying offers and core destinations under the expiration agreement. Sources said that would mean teams technically could offer players qualifying offers and core destination as soon as Sunday and up until January 20th. So to have a system in place for free agency, it looked like, if the CBA expires. So, like, from my understanding, they can still pursue players, they can still core players.
This is where the 70% revenue share demand needs to be unpacked, because it's more complex than it sounds. In the NBA, players receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income, which is the benchmark across most major professional leagues. WNBA players are asking for 70% of net revenue, and at first glance that appears higher than what NBA players get. The catch is in the definition of net revenue. It's what remains after expenses are deducted. If those expenses are inflated or poorly managed, 70% of net could end up being worth less than 50% of gross. At its core, the player's stance reflects a lack of trust in the league's financial transparency.
It said it is widely expected that players would not want to sign contracts while a new salary system with expected massive increase in compensation is still being bargained. All but 2 of league veterans are free agents this offseason in an anticipated new CBA. Now, with the previous deal expired, both sides enter a period called status quo. That's what we talked about yesterday. Instead, the CBA or maintained, and both sides can continue to negotiate, but the expiration of the old agreement opens the door for a potential work stoppage, either a strike.
This is where the Players Association's statement becomes especially sharp. They accuse the league of holding onto mechanisms that no longer belong in modern women's basketball. Those mechanisms include the core designation system, which allows teams to retain players without their consent, restrictive free agency rules that limit player mobility, and salary cap frameworks that suppress earnings even as the league continues to grow. The players' argument is straightforward. The WNBA of 2025 is not the same league it was in 2020, and the rules must evolve to reflect that reality.
The league, however, has not considered locking out the players, so she's told, because I feel like it's definitely going to be a strike, man. The WNBA, okay, that's the statement that we just read. Now, the last proposal was $1.3 million and growing. Well, this is what they want: 70% of net revenue sharing. They want $1.3 million salaries, $2 million life of the deal. I don't know what that is, but yeah, man, this situation is nasty work. Judging by that WPA statement, they talking trash to Adam Silver, man. I don't know, man. I don't know, but this is bad.
An owner-imposed lockout hasn't been seriously discussed, but based on the tone of the Players Association, this is clearly trending toward a strike. The league's most recent offer topped out at $1.3 million with potential growth over the life of the deal, while the players are demanding 70% of net revenue sharing alongside salaries that could reach $2 million. Whatever the final numbers end up being, the situation is getting ugly fast. The union's statement wasn't subtle. It was openly confrontational, taking direct shots at league leadership and, by extension, the NBA's oversight. This isn't quiet negotiation anymore. It's public escalation, and all signs point to a breakdown rather than a compromise.
I keep saying that they trying to get this money, the money that they don't got, but to each his own, man. Down in the comment section, let me know y'all thoughts about this one, man. Keep them bells on. I will be back with more content, man. And until next time, shake the haters off. And as we find out more about scoring players like Kelsey Mitchell and many others. I'll be sure to let you guys know. So make sure you guys tune into the channel. I'm going to be working this thing mixed in with my other content. Got some college football content going to come out, so you guys do want to see that commitment right here live on the channel.
Because between 2020 and 2025, everything changed. Television audiences skyrocketed, with the 2024 season delivering record-breaking ratings across multiple networks. Attendance rebounded and surged in markets that once struggled. Merchandise revenue reached historic highs, and corporate sponsorships poured in. The league expanded to 13 teams with additional growth already on the horizon, and by nearly every external indicator, the WNBA is in the middle of unprecedented expansion. That's why players struggle to accept claims of financial hardship. What they're being told doesn't align with what they can plainly see. That gap creates distrust, and once trust erodes, negotiations collapse. Now here's where things escalate, because the expiration of the CBA triggers what's known as the status quo, allowing both sides to technically operate under the old agreement while talks continue, but it also opens the door to a work stoppage, either through a strike or a lockout. According to reports, ownership has not seriously explored a lockout, which means any shutdown would almost certainly come from the players, and judging by the tone of the union's statement, they appear ready for that path. The Players Association didn't mince words, calling the league's approach misguided, accusing owners of endangering player livelihoods and fan trust, and stating plainly that pay equity is non-negotiable and long overdue, language that signals preparation for a prolonged labor fight, not compromise. A strike would have massive consequences. Number 2026 season, no playoffs, no championship, no draft. College seniors projected as first-round picks would suddenly have nowhere to land. Young players would lose critical development and income. Fans would face cancellations and refunds, and sponsors who invested millions based on projected growth would be forced to renegotiate or walk away, collapsing the entire ecosystem. Strikes in women's sports carry unique risks because players don't have the same financial cushions as their male counterparts. Even max WNBA salaries don't create generational security, and while some players rely on overseas contracts, those leagues come with their own schedules and limitations. A long strike would hurt players more than NBA-backed owners who can afford to wait, but the union is betting that the league can't afford to squander the momentum it finally achieved in 2024, when mainstream attention, ratings, and relevance all surged. Losing the 2026 season would be devastating, driving fans away, cooling media interest, and redirecting sponsor dollars, essentially forcing the league to rebuild an audience it spent decades cultivating. That's the leverage the players believe they hold. Adam Silver's role complicates everything further. As NBA commissioner, he's been the WNBA's strongest advocate, but he also represents NBA owners who subsidize league operations and whose patience isn't unlimited. If a strike derails growth, how long before those owners question continued investment? The union has accused ownership of deliberately stalling negotiations, hoping the pressure of an expired agreement would force concessions, a common tactic meant to manufacture urgency, but it only works if the other side blinks, and right now the players aren't blinking. The timing makes this even more precarious. Expansion teams have been announced, media deals are being renegotiated, and sponsorships are being finalized under the assumption that a 2026 season will happen. If it doesn't, expansion could be delayed, TV contracts reopened, and sponsors could invoke force majeure clauses, triggering enormous financial ripple effects. Beyond salary figures, what the players are really fighting for is respect. After watching attendance rise, ratings explode, and revenues grow, they're tired of being told the league is broke, tired of relying on overseas play to afford life in major markets, tired of inferior travel conditions and second-class treatment. The money matters, but it's also symbolic of how their labor is valued. So where does this go? The league submitted a proposal late Friday that the union is reviewing, but after publicly dismantling the league's position, it's hard to imagine a sudden reversal. The most likely outcome is continued negotiations under the looming threat of a strike, with teams issuing offers, players refusing to sign, and the draft approaching without clarity until one side forces a decision, likely in early spring. For players, the question is whether risking a season is worth fighting for revenue sharing and dignity. For the league, whether preserving leverage is worth potentially destroying years of momentum. Because this isn't just about the 2025 CBA, it's about whether WNBA players truly have power or remain dependent on NBA backing. That's the real battle. So let me ask you, if you're a WNBA player, do you strike and risk everything for better terms, or do you accept less than you believe you deserve to keep playing? Those are the only options left. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want to stay updated as this situation gets messy, hit subscribe, because the future of the WNBA will be decided by what happens next.